This is a killer song and you're going to love playing along with this one. I'm going to give you as many of the parts as I can. The Foo Fighters, particularly this kind of era of stuff, there's a lot of layering going on. There's some really intricate little kind of parts that weave together really nicely. So I'm going to try and take you through as many of them as I can, but there are definitely going to be overdubs that I'm going to miss. If you really want to get further into the tune, I recommend heavy listening. So let's get to some close-ups. Check out how to play this bad boy. So let's start off with the chords for the intro. We've got third finger on the 10th fret of the 4th string, second finger on the 9th fret of the 3rd string, little finger on the 10th fret of the 2nd string, and first finger stretching back to the 7th fret on the thinner string. And we're going to play strings 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So straight up and back starting on the 5th string. Then we're going to play the open 5th string again. Then first finger's going to come round and play the 7th fret of the thickest string, which is a little bit of a stretchy thing. Maybe it's not particularly terrible. So, okay, open 5th string, 7th fret of the thickest string. Now after that, that'll be a down pick, almost certainly with that. Then you're going to do a little up pick, playing the middle 2 strings, so that the rest of the fingers are staying where they were. So it's the 9th and the 10th fret on the middle 2 strings. Just a little kind of up brush. So 7th fret, up brush. Then first finger moves up and we play the 8th fret. Same little up brush. Open A. And then the up brush again. Then first finger's going down on the 9th fret on the and after 4. Okay, so it's really important you get the rhythm of that because it feels a little displaced. Hear the rhythm? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, picking wise I'm using downs, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay, that feels a little bit weird to be picking in that way, but I think that's what works best for this lick. Okay, one more time. So we've played that, and then we've got 4 fingers are still staying in the same spot. We play 4th string, 3rd string, 2nd string, noting that we're playing that first note on the and after 1. So 1 and 2 and 3. Now we've got this little interesting thing. First finger's going to bend up a semitone. We're still holding that chord down. It's a semitone bend. You definitely want to be bending it up. Make sure that you leave your first finger in contact with the thicker string when you come down as well. Otherwise you might get that thicker string will ring out. So you obviously don't want to push too far or you'll bend it up over the neck. So it's a bit of a subtle bend there, semitone bend. And first finger goes back to the 8th fret. Let's just play it through to that point. So we got this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, just added on that last little bit of chord. It's really important to note that the little bend there, that's starting on the and after 3. So you have this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 4 and. Okay, then the next little part of the chord there, which is the same as the intro but with the open thinner string, is also starting on the and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so the whole riff through 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So probably for most of you, the hardest part of this will be the rhythm. It's not particularly difficult. It's a little bit unusual, the little first finger bend and the stretch back with the first finger there to the 7th fret on the thicker string. That it's not a standard kind of a rock riff, which I think is really cool, but having, especially in the 3rd and 4th bars where you're starting not on the beat, some of you might find that a little bit awkward. So plenty of time practicing it really slowly and you'll be rocking it in no time. So riff number 2 is this little figure that gets repeated around a lot. It's kind of a nice little layer, like a hi-hat-y kind of a layer. Really cool little idea here. We've got the open thinner string ringing all of the way through, and this kind of line going on the second string. So 5th fret, 7, mute, 8, mute, 10, 5, 5, 7, mute, 8, mute, 10, 5. Okay, so when you combine that with... Now, I've seen a few videos of Dave playing it, and it's sometimes kind of sloppy in a really nice way. I don't mean it like he can't play, because he's an incredible guitar player, but it's got a nice kind of looseness about the way it's played, that it's not quite as tight as that. These little bits where the notes aren't quite ringing out in between. Here, there, having that muted note. Having that push back to that note. You know, it's just really nice. Have a listen to it. It's not the main part of the tune, but definitely one that you'd want to be playing. You'd probably just play it a couple of times if you were doing it in a one guitar scenario, but probably if you're playing this sort of Foo Fighters song in a band, there's going to be one guy playing that part and another one playing the major lines. I should mention, actually, there's one other one that another... Is his name Chris? The other guitar player in the Foo Fighters, and it's Pat. I think it's Chris. Sure, someone will tell me if I've got that wrong, but I think that I saw him play it on a live like this. Now, I don't think that's what's on it's not what I'm hearing on the record, but you might find, because it's essentially the same. It's not quite the same, but anyway, that's another option, is holding the E note with this one in the third finger on the playing the 5th fret of the second string rather than the open string, and then playing the line. You know, so there's another option for playing that line that you might want to explore. So I've just changed the camera a little bit. It was at a funny angle, looked kind of weird to me. Anyway, so we're into the verse. I'm going to show you 2 guitar parts at least. I think there might be a third and possibly even a fourth on the original recording, but we're just going to be dealing with 2 for now. The first one is what I'm pretty sure Dave's playing. I've seen some videos where he's talked about the song, and it's kind of live stuff, where acoustic things where you can see what he's playing. It's not what I would have first thought by just listening, so it's only through video research that I've got these bits. So it appears that he's playing this for the verses. Okay, so it's regular A minor, 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1. Okay, so that pattern, rhythmic pattern, down, up, 3, down, up, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2, 3, 4, down, up, 2, 3, down, up, 2, 3, 4, down, up, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2, 3, 4. Okay, hands moving quite consistently, definitely for Dave. That's one of his trademark things, is that continuous motion. I guess it comes from being a drummer. So he's using an A minor chord for the first 4 bars. Then he goes to an F sharp minor. Now, he's using his second finger on the note F sharp on the thicker string, 2nd fret, muting the 5th string. 3rd and 4th fingers are going down in the 2nd fret of the middle 2 strings there. And he's just playing those notes. Now, on the record, to me, when I hear it, it sounds like D with an F sharp bass, which would be more commonly played like that. But you can hear, I saw it first and now I've heard it, but I'm pretty sure I can hear that note in there in the mix of guitars. It makes for a bit of clash, but in a really cool kind of a way. So he's playing that, which I'd still tend to call it a D with an F sharp bass, although it's got this kind of funny add 9 in there as well. It's probably technically more like an F sharp minor 7. But anyway, so it does that for 2 bars, and it goes to this really nice F add 9. So this is just like a regular F power chord, but leaving the open G string ringing out. Now you want to make sure you don't get the B in there as well, the B and the E string, the thinnest 2 strings. They won't sound cool. So when you're doing the down, up, you really want to be picking from the G. That's going to be a really important part of that. So again, A minor, and again, F sharp minor, F add 9. You hear I just clipped the B just a tiny bit there. Now also noting the palm mute in there, so I'm doing down, up, mute. Okay, the palm's sitting there touching those strings because you want it to be nice and tight and quiet in between those chords. You don't want it ringing out all funny, okay? So down, up, 2, 3, down, up, up. You're letting that one ring, so down, up, and then the mute. Kind of exaggerating it now there, but you can see there, so it's A minor, F sharp minor or D over an F sharp with a added E in there, and then the F add 9, okay? And there's a little riff that happens, it's not every time, it doesn't happen the first time. I think the second time through he just plays it once. Actually, is it from the second, third and fourth times? You're going to have to listen to it, but there's a little bit that's on the after the F add 9, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4, just F, then the open E, G on beat 4, 3 and 4. Okay, if I add that in, okay, so it's just that little into the next section there. So that's one guitar part. Now there's another guitar part playing, I think it's still the A minor, but definitely on the D, I'm hearing this chord grip in there, okay, which is a D with an F sharp bass. Second finger playing second fret of the thicker string, muting the fifth string, open D, third finger second fret on the third string, little finger playing third fret on the second string, muting the thinner string. It's a D with an F sharp bass. I think the F add 9 stays the same each time. A minor, D with an F sharp bass, F add 9, A minor, and again, D with an F sharp bass, F add 9. Now there's a third part there which comes in, which is your eighth note. I can't really remember what the exact accent passage is, but it's just really solid eighth notes, as I remember. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now here, some of you might not be familiar with this. This is a D with an F sharp bass, kind of like a power chord. So if we had an F sharp power chord, and then we move this note up one semitone, it's kind of like this. This would be a D chord using a C shape. We're using the F sharp on the bass. Now I'm not 100% certain that's the chord that's being played. It might just be these two notes, the first finger and little finger, but I think it sounds fuller and more like it to my ears. If we add in that third finger there, that's the D with the F sharp bass, and then to the F. Okay, so that, again, it appears a few times in the song. You can use your ears to figure that out. Got that little climb up there, of course, and then we've got this little kind of bridge going into the chorus. Now it's another real classic kind of a Foo Fighters idea of having a little octave line with an open string. So first finger, let's call this riff 3. First finger, 5th fret of the 5th string, muting the thicker string as well, leaving the 4th string open, and little finger playing the 7th fret of the 3rd string. Okay, so muting the thicker string, that'll help you get that 4th string open as well, if you think about your first finger kind of being up a little higher than it might normally. Okay, so nothing, 5, open, 7. Then we're going to move the octave shape up to the 7th fret, to the 9th fret, to the 10th fret. It's just even 8th notes again. Now I find that I want to lift my first finger up. I'm not exactly sure why I'm doing that. yeah, I really don't. I can't explain why that's happening sometimes, and I'm lifting it up as I go along. It does feel like I'm getting a more solid connection with the note, but I've got no idea if that's going to help you play it. I guess you want to try it and just see what's going on, really, and might work for you, might not. So into the chorus now. The chorus is kind of interesting here because it's using the same chord grips and the same pattern of the bass line as the intro, but with this real dirty sound, which at first I thought, you know, surely it can't be that. But really, if the more I listen to it, the more I can hear that chord being played with the dirty sound over and over again. Sounds like it's strummed. So you end up with this. Now you can probably hear this guitar a little bit acoustically in my vocal mic, which will make it sound a little bit cleaner. But you know, on the original recording, it's quite a dirty sound for having such a major seventh chord with distortion like that. It's just a little bit unusual. I mean, it sounds great. Again, Dave Grohl is the king of arranging. You know, his producers possibly as well. Although I think he produced his first record, probably still has quite a lot of involvement in the kind of layering and stuff, and it's just unusual, but in a really cool way. I love stuff like this. It's a bit like, you can't play a major seventh chord with distortion. Like Dave Grohl, yeah, you can. Sounds great, big song. So yeah, basically the tricky part for that is just going to be getting that bass moving correctly. So you want to think again of this, the movement of here, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and the fact that it's all on the offbeats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You really want to keep a hold of that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3. Very, very cool. I suspect you probably won't have too much difficulty if you've already got used to playing the intro and you've got your head around the rhythm of that. Then you should be okay. But again, you know, a bit of slow practice, a little bit of listening, you should be okay on that part as well. And that's the majority of the song, but there's a couple of fun bits to go as well. So the first one, after the first chorus, is this little rock and roll. Love that. It's very kind of AC/DC to me. You know, when they say the blues had a baby and they called it rock and roll, you know, that's where it's coming from, man. This is a standard kind of 12-bar blues line. So first finger is in the second fret of the fourth string. Third finger goes down in the, and that's with the open A, I should mention as well. Third finger goes down in the fourth fret. The fourth string still, then slides up, I think slides up when you could use the little finger, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be slid up and then back. Notice that the rhythm is doing this. So it's keeping it real simple, and that's a really important part of this kind of groove. Now, as far as getting the muting right, I've thought about trying to explain, like, because they're muted, note, mute, note, mute, note, mute, and then that last one sometimes you're grabbing the third string as well. It's one of those things that's simple and easy, but actually it's quite difficult to explain. It's difficult to get right until you can, which sounds ridiculous, but it's just a matter of perseverance, I think, and just trying to get it right. Remember that there's going to be a bit of muting there with the fretting hand, and this hand just stays continuous. If you stick with those two little bits, then you should be going okay there. And actually, one other thing that I forgot to mention was in the chorus as well, because again, there's loads of different layers there. I'm not certain. I couldn't really, separate them very well in my ears, what the different parts were. But I do think that there's one guitar part playing the power chordy sort of thing with the riff. So going back into the chorus. So. So the bridge is based on this kind of, it's the kind of rock and roll-y thing, but the pattern's slightly different. We've got 2nd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret. Okay, it does that, I think it's 8 times, and then we go into a new one. Which is done 4 times. So this one is 10th fret, 9th fret, 7th fret, 5th fret. All again with the open A string ringing out that whole time. Now there's another new one. 12, 10, 9, 10. So after 3 times around that little it's kind of matching in with the and you line. Now really important here, the line down, down, up, up, down, down, up, and 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2. That's the count. But you've got with the open A string ringing out as well, particularly on the 3rd string. Tip of the 1st finger is going to have to be muting that 4th string, okay? It's not a very easy little riff, that one, to get that right, and especially in the run of the whole thing. It's not killer difficult, okay? So you got... You're going to have that 8 times. That's 4, but the next one... Now the next one... Here we go. There's a whole bunch of different layers going on there, flangey guitars, strumming chords, and some 8th note pumping and all sorts of stuff that builds up really big at that point. Really feels quite exciting, but I haven't explored what those other layers are, because I think that's kind of the dominant part there, and I think the other one's just a pumping 8th notes on the A chord and that kind of stuff. Immediately after that as well, if you're playing it in a band on your own, you've got a nasty jump getting back into that section again, which is, I found it really challenging to suddenly go from all of this energy and all of this excitement to go back into this. I noticed live the Foos use synths and stuff for that section rather than trying to play the riff, just because there's so much energy going on. Stays in time, so as long as you can keep your pulse, keep your foot tapping, you should be okay coming back in. If there's a 3rd guitar player, if you've got 2 or 3 guitar players, probably somebody who's not doing something super energetic should have a chance to change their patch and change their sound and get into that. I've been playing a little bit dirty, of course, for this song, just because I've mostly been doing it by myself and I don't want to be changing patches. Now, the only other thing to mention, it goes into then the chorus. So those choruses at the end, you got all of those different parts. You got the strummy doing that one. You got one doing that. You definitely got the... is probably. Then there is, I've just remembered now, there's another octave line that I haven't written down that comes in at that end part. So I'll leave that one for you to transcribe. There's another layer. There's loads of layers in the Foo Fighters stuff, and it sounds amazing. Just remember that once you've done that chorus through a few times, I think it goes back into... There's a little gateway back into... Can't remember the rhythm now. 2, 3, 4. It's 4 strums, but I can't remember where they come on the beat. I'd need the rest of the track there with me. But anyway, you can listen out for those stops at the end and the way it works. Again, it's just a case of listening to it for that sort of stuff. You can write it down if you want, but it's a lot easier and better, I think, in a lot of ways to learn stuff by ear. I'm sure you're going to love playing along with this Foo Fighters song. It's really, I love it. It's just so much fun just jamming along with the original recording. Such a big sounding track as well. You know, I'm on a bit of a Foo Fighters binge at the moment. It's my daughter's favourite band. She's only 2, but on the way to nursery in the car, she always asks for the pink music. And I don't know why the Foo Fighters is what she calls the pink music, but if I put anything else on, she really kicks off. It's got to be the Foo Fighters. She particularly seems to like the song Halo, so I'm going to get my teeth stuck into that one next, I think. But this one's a really, really great Foo Fighters songs for checking out the layer, you know, the way that the guitars are layered up. It's, you know, they're really, I'm assuming it's Dave Grohl. It could be producers and the other members of the band as well, but the you know, the layering is just absolutely superb. The way the different sounds work together and the combinations of dirty sounds, and sometimes it's just sounds that just shouldn't work so well together, but they really do. You know, it's you know, incredible stuff, incredible band, and I really hope you dig on this tune. There'll be more Foos coming up for sure. Do please subscribe to my channel if you dig what I do. I really appreciate your support. It does make a big difference hitting that subscribe button and giving me a thumbs up for it. Do check out the website as well, where there'll be loads of related lesson links and all of that kind of stuff. There's loads of exciting things going over on the website if you haven't checked it out. A lot of big updates last year, some really exciting features about to drop as well, so get over there and register. It's still free, and you might find some exciting things coming up shortly. So I'll see you for plenty more lessons very soon. You take care of yourselves. Bye bye.